recording, and Tanya, you can take it away from here.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm going to put my video on real quick. Howdy. Very nice to see you. But I cannot possibly have this video on the entire time because I cannot watch myself present because that's just radically annoying. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right on in and I'm going to stop my video. All right, friends, we're here to do lots of fun and cool stuff. We're going to talk about instructor immediacy in online courses. We're going to measure engagement and impact within the e-learning environment. It's a very fancy title, if I must say so myself. It's not a complicated one, though, and it's super duper important. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about no significant difference in moving beyond. We'll obviously define instructor immediacy, and we'll talk about positive correlations associated to it. We're going to do immediacy in action, your primary takeaways from this, and then we're also going to talk about analytics as they are impacted or as analytics can show instructor immediacy. So primarily we're going to be focusing our time together today from the instructor perspective, and we'll discuss the trending e-learning strategies that are currently available and how instructors can inform their choices inside of their e-learning classrooms to improve e-learning overall. All right, no significant difference. Most of us are already kind of familiar with this, but multiple studies, Heltz, Zhang, and Turoff in 2002, Johnson, Aragon, Shake, and Palmer-Rivas in 2000, McLaren in 2004, Rodingay in 2005, they've already concluded there's no significant difference between online and traditional classroom approaches to learning. And I believe that we've all figured this out very intimately in the year 2020. So there we go. Baker in 2010 indicated that researchers are moving beyond the question of whether the online approach to education is as effective as traditional learning, and we're now delving into the realm of identifying which instructional strategies are most effective. For institutions that use a learning management system, all of us, particularly in higher ed, learning is facilitated directly by an instructor, and when an instructor is involved directly in the learning process, that instructor is critical to learning success. And researchers have correlated instructor engagement and immediacy to increase student success, defined either by student satisfaction, higher average grade in the course, or both. Instructor or instructional immediacy is behavior that brings the instructor and the students closer together in terms of perceived distance. This is from Rocca in 2007. Communication immediacy was a concept proposed originally by Morabian in 1971, referring to physical, verbal, and nonverbal behaviors that reduce the perceived psychological and physical distance between individuals. And that definition was broadened first, obviously, for the face-to-face classroom, as nonverbal behaviors or nonverbal immediacy behaviors were found to be significant within the learning environment. In short, teacher immediacy is really about the student's perception of whether or not the teacher cares about him or her. Teachers caring is not really what it's about. The teacher can feel care or cannot feel care. It's not about that. It's about the student's perception, right, about whether or not the teacher actually cares. So it's really tied up in behaviors. So let's talk correlations, right? Instructor-teacher immediacy is positively correlated with, and we got a lot going on here, friends, student affect and affective learning in both small and large classes and when student workload demands are high, student cognitive learning, perceived instructor competence, caring, and trustworthiness. So the more an instructor, just kind of revisit this, the more an instructor emulates or emits immediacy behaviors, that instructor is perceived by students as having greater competence, which I think is huge. positive student evaluations and student state motivation. And student state motivation is how the student is internally motivated to do the work, right? And I have a number of resources there at the bottom of the screen, which I'm not going to read. They will be available in my session, and if you want them, I will be very happy to send them to you, because that's just a lot of reading right there. So we're just gonna skip that part of it. More stuff. Correlated also with attitude and background homophily with instructors. Hey, we like each other. Interpersonal attraction, all three forms of it: task, physical, and social attraction. Perceived teacher assertiveness and responsiveness, huge, and student attendance and participation. So all of these are fantastic from the idea that, you know, students are going to perform in environments where there's a higher perceived teacher immediacy. So yeah, we need to know what are the behaviors, right? It's great to know all this, but how do we actively do something about it? So what are the behaviors? Time, man, time. Time communicates, as in the length of time it takes an instructor to respond to a discussion post. All right, did you respond like that night, or in that hour, the next day, or is it 2 weeks from now? Because if it's 2 weeks from now, you don't care, right? That's the message that you're communicating. We've moved way past that topic. The length of time of the post itself, or rather the length of the post itself, right? Did my instructor dash it off on their phone? Hey, great job. Or is it thoughtful and introspective, right? How long did it take my instructor to grade my assignment? And an example of this, which is crazy cakes. So I had when I was teaching, I had a really intense assignment, and I dedicated almost half the semester to it. And honestly, grading that assignment was hell. And I spent 45 minutes on every paper when I was grading that sucker. And I would write comments in Microsoft Word, and I was very detailed, and I looked at every sentence. It was okay. So one of my students came in the following day after I had graded her paper, Allison, and she calculated my time stamps so she could determine how long I took to grade that paper. That's how important time is, friends. Time is important. All right. So design, right? Design choices. Now I get the fact that this is an older view, right? I get it. This was from a long time ago. Come on, friends. There are still some courses out there that look like this, and we have got to move beyond, right? We've got to move beyond into some design choices. This is a lot nicer. It's prettier. It's more engaging. It's less overwhelming. There's less going on here. This is where we really are headed, and the way that we need to attack how we're presenting content to our students. We've got time and design choices. Warm and cold media. This was also very fascinating to me. Warm and cold media. Applications of social presence yielded a theory that situated social presence as a quality of the medium being used. Telecommunication media were considered along a warm and cold spectrum based on their potential to communicate intimacy and immediacy. Warmer or richer media, due to the presence of more verbal and nonverbal cues, allowed mediated or remote others to be more present, right? Like technically, I should be having my camera on right now so you could see my face while I'm doing this. So really, I'm failing you in the moment, but look past that as we continue to move forward. Later research using the same social presence theory framework posited that the behaviors of the communicators within text-only media could create intimacy and immediacy, and thus more social presence with the media that they chose. So warm media, no shocker, right? Audio, video, this is warm media. Video literally abounds on the interwebs, and so do podcasts. Varying the media maintains the attention of the learner. And my example of that is just a recent one as I struggled through algebra with my 7th grader in March and April and May. And what I loved about how his teachers created the assignments was that, yeah, sure, there were a number of different lessons, right, from Khan Academy or this place or that place. Well, they did vary them, and they also varied who they chose. So it wasn't even the same person teaching the same way every single day. It was a bunch of different folks with different videos, and I thought that that was incredible because different people speak to different people in a different way. And so this was really, really awesome to be able to see how this was implemented, right? And some folks had more personality, some folks had less personality, and it was just really cool to be able to see how that was implemented quite literally. All right, cold media. This is an example of cold media, but it doesn't have to be served cold, right? Like none of you want to read this. Not only can you not, it's an ipsum lorem, but this is not something that you want to read. But now maybe you do, right? And all I did was add some emojis in there. And emojis are huge as we communicate to other people, right? They get tone of voice. This is an immediacy behavior. How are you actually talking to me when you write this? So I made it much happier, right? This giant block of text, and I'm definitely much more interested in being able to, or engaging with these giant blocks of text, right? You can also use video and audio when you're giving feedback, and you can do that through Poodle. You can do that also in Microsoft Word. There are any number of ways where you can give your learners feedback as you're grading, and that's fantastic. So, you know, it doesn't have to be something that you type. You can talk to them as well, and that also communicates immediacy. Tone is huge, right? We talked about emojis. I showed you that. Figurative language. Figurative language, great idea, great idea, great idea, great idea. All of those, right? Those are different fonts, capitals, extended use of vowels. Those are fantastic ways to communicate tone, right? It's not just typing great idea, because that falls flat. None of those actually fall flat, and it's a wonderful way to vary how students are going to perceive you, and again, improves immediacy. Aesthetics, of course, visual imagery, we talked about that, data used well, video, typographic design, color, and cohesion, all indicators of immediacy behaviors. Verbal behaviors, also part of it. So, asking questions and initiating discussions, using inclusive personal pronouns, using self-disclosure, addressing students by name, and offering praise. So let's talk about examples of those. Could Napoleon have handled Waterloo differently? If so, how? Asking questions, initiating discussions. This is our plan for the semester. What were our perceptions of the test? How did we perform on the group presentation? Notice my little use of an emoji there, right? So that's using inclusive personal pronouns. Self-disclosure. Today has been challenging. My 12-year-old son is getting a C in history. God, how I wish that were really not, I mean, that was accurate. It still pains me to read it. I'm excited to learn Zelda now. My son is looking forward to teaching me. Any other games I should try? I made oatmeal cookies with caramel salt chips. They were amazing. Let me know if you want the recipe. Seriously, friends, they really were amazing. If you want that oatmeal recipe, hit me up. They were incredible cookies. Offering praise. The forum responses were excellent. I noticed that Bill, Kathy, Jen, Gio, Kevin, Rudy, and Nadine all would have handled Waterloo very differently. Fantastic job, Lars. You made excellent points regarding Napoleon's choices. Cool, right? So now we kind of need to talk about how we get this information. So very quickly, we're gonna kind of stop on over into IntelliBoard. We're going to talk about some reporting about, oh, I want to expand this. There we go. We're going to jump into a section of reports. Okay. And let's look at, pretty sure engaged, not engaged is where I want to go. So let's take a look at engaged, not engaged totals by course. I like this one because it's a nice overview. I think I'm looking at all courses right now. I am. I'm going to run this again just because I want to look at the education there. I like my data in there a little bit better. So this is a section of courses. We're looking at 17. This is again inside of the IntelliBoard demo site. So this is all very real, fake data. But I want you to see here, right, that we can see very quickly as an overview from the super admin point of view, right, the number of learners who entered the course and completed an activity, the number of learners who entered the course and did not complete an activity, and the number of learners who didn't enter the course, right? And each of these gives us a very substantial overview really fast. Okay, what's going on, right? If we've got X number of learners associated with a course and it's 20, the Natalia test course is a great example of this, right? There are 50 learners in this course and 48 of them didn't enter. Okay, oh no, what is happening here, right? So this is very indicative of an engaged kind of environment or not engaged. And we can, if we want to, be able to click on a particular item and we can be taken to the details of that item as well. So we can see what everybody is doing in music. We can see folks who entered and we can see them by name and those who didn't and didn't enter the course. So it's really, really helpful to be able to take a look at that. Okay. And I want to do this section right up here. So we've got a whole ton of instructor reports. These are not reports for instructors. These are reports on instructor behavior. And so what I love about these is that this is the instructor activity engagement detail. Now, we know it, right? We know that with everybody being pushed online as rapidly as they are, folks were not necessarily comfortable, instructors were not comfortable in that environment. And so having the ability to be able to see how instructors are engaged with their courses is incredibly huge right now. And so we can see through this reporting the amount of, or rather the number of visits or clicks in the course, the total amount of time spent for the instructor, and we're looking at Thomas Let's Go right now, the first access, the last access, and we can click on details if we want to. But we can see that the engagement for Thomas Let's Go in the particular course that we're looking at. So again, I'm going to grab education, see if I have any other. We don't have many instructors in here. I think Thomas is our primary instructor. So I was going to kind of grab a different course, but you can see quickly and easily what's happening inside of the system. Here are the instructor engagement stats by course. And when you start to see this, let me expand my date range here so that I can get a little bit more data for you. So again, we're looking either at Thomas Let's Go or teacher demo. And our teacher demo, right, 111 visits, 22 minutes, maybe not enough time. Enrolled learners, 59, 0 completed learners. Hey, maybe that's a problem we should take a look at. So this is, again, a really nice way to be able to see what is happening inside the system. Forums are kind of a really huge piece of this too, right? Because forums are so significant, especially within online learning. And when you see instructor forum engagement, you'll see here the number of forums, the number of discussions, the number of posts, the number of teachers' discussions. So if we're looking at Thomas Let's Go, he's got 7 teacher discussions, right? Do we need more? Do we not need more, right? How are we looking at this in terms of, is this enough? The number of posts here is 228, but these are student discussions, right? So because the teacher's discussions, this teacher and manager demo is not contributing here. So we'd want to know that, and we'd want to be able to identify, because as we've already determined, right, instructor immediacy, it's important. So we want to be able to impact this in some way to ensure that we have the engagement and retention of our learners. And let's see, I'm going to show you one more. Oh yeah, instructor engagement ratio. I don't think I did that one yet. I don't know where that one is though. I'm going to go with instructor activity engagement detail. Okay, so this is specifically, I don't know if I showed this one or not, but this is specifically related to the activities. I think I did. Let me do load summary. That might be a little bit better as far as variety goes. Okay, so here's where we're seeing inside of the system, right? So we can look at either Thomas Let's Go or Teacher Demo. We can see the total number of courses and the learners, the number of learners active in the last 30 days. Okay, huge. Right? If the number of learners active in the last 30 days is 123, but you have 264 in your course, yeah, maybe we need to address this, right? Teacher demo, 321 learners enrolled, 152 active. Okay, all right. And obviously this is our test site. So Arena Mish, right? Arena has 7 learners enrolled and 5 were active in the last 30 days. Okay. Right? This is more the ratio that we want to be able to see in terms of engaged learners and instructors, right? And you can also, of course, see the average grade over here. Okay. There's so much more, obviously, inside of IntelliBoard Friends, but this is a great start to be able to get a handle on what the engagement is in your courses and how to improve immediacy in them. All right, so let me grab this now again. Okay. All right, so again, we have symptoms, right? And different things that we can be looking at in terms of low instructor engagement. Low engagement again, we have any number of reports to be able to talk through what low engagement is for a learner and then be able to identify those items. Not completing assignments, past due assignments is really great, and not graded or needs grading is great to be able to push over to the instructor dashboard among many, many other items. So the instructors and the learners have their own independent dashboards available within inside of the Moodle LMS. These are configured by the super admin, so the super admin can push over any number of tools that make an instructor's life easier, because that's the whole point of it. All right, so where have we been? We talked about no significant difference in moving beyond. We defined instructor immediacy. We talked about positive correlations, immediacy in action and the immediacy behaviors associated to it. We've also covered analytics. Friends, this is our list of resources for this. If you want this in a way that you can reference it later, just hit me up, email me, and I will be very, very happy to send it to you. It's a lot of really interesting reading. At least I found it to be. Here is my contact information, and I see a number of questions in here. So I am gonna kind of go back, because it's really hard for me to pay attention. I'm just gonna say it. It's hard for me to pay attention to the chat while I'm going through this, right? I have limitations. That's definitely one of them. So Peggy asks a lovely question about who would do that. And I know even before reading it that she's talking about Allison. Allison would do that, Peggy. Allison, right? So did I find that my students actually read all of my feedback, or were they just interested in the grade? Well, yeah, I did actually for that particular, I would say 80% of them read the feedback that I provided because of the effort that they had to put into the topic and the project itself. I would go into my office at 7:30 in the morning, and there were students actually sleeping outside my door at that time. And then I would leave the office at 5:30, and there would be at least 5 to 10 people inside my office rotating in and out for weeks at a time, just asking me questions about that assignment. So yeah, I think they were interested in the commentary. And Peggy says, does it tell you how long they were engaged in a specific class or session? Yes, it does. So IntelliBoard does provide that, especially even with activities. IntelliBoard, when you install it inside of your Moodle system, it pings the learner. It's not reading from the Moodle data tables as far as time spent, because as you know, inside of Moodle, right, you can log on and, or rather, let's say I'm a student, right? I log into Moodle, I open up a new tab, I watch Star Wars for 2 hours, and I have 2 hours on site. Woohoo, yay. Okay, well, that's not accurate, friends. And we know that. So when you install the IntelliBoard plugin, it pings the learner in the background approximately every 30 seconds. It hangs out for 60 seconds, waiting for evidence of engagement. And if it doesn't get it, it shuts the clock off. So yes, we do see how long they were engaged in a specific class and session. So it takes that time, right? And it can, in certain reports, it'll show you specifically how long. Sometimes it'll aggregate it. Sometimes it'll aggregate it per course, by activity, whatever. We're all over the map. Oh, no, I can't read. I cannot make my screen larger. I'm so sorry. But you know what I strongly recommend, right, is to just, you're here, right, grab the plugin, install the plugin, connect. It takes like 10 minutes. Seriously, it's the easiest thing in the world. Normally we do a 15-day free trial. Just email me. I'll hook you up with a 30-day free trial so that you can really go through and feel it. We will train you, we will onboard you, make you comfortable with it so that you can actually see all those beautifully delicious reports. And how does it measure that engagement during a class session? A synchronous class session or an online class session, Peggy? Help me. No, you do not have to give them something to respond that asks them to respond. So this is something that pings the learner, and I'm sure you're talking about the time tracking here. And this is something that pings the learner in the background, right? And now, if you do have them, let's say it's a long PDF, right, that you're doing. If they're not scrolling and they're not active, yes, it could very well time them out. But most of the time, it doesn't work like that. It's, you know, for instance, a Moodle book, right? Or a lesson, or something that's going on, a video that's playing inside of the Moodle system. Those things are actively engaging that time tracking feature so that you don't need to worry about it. And so it is very accurate. But if it is a long kind of a PDF that might take them longer than a minute to get through the whole screen, then yes, it is very possible that the system would time them out from the time that they're absorbing that. Okay. Oh, please do, Peggy. It's amazing. This tool is absolutely amazing. And obviously I love it. So I just think it's the bomb diggity. Not to mention how wonderful it makes the e-learning experience, because it's great for instructors, their personal dashboard, they love it. The learners love it because they get their own dashboard and they can keep track of their own pacing and what it is that they're doing in the classrooms. And then obviously it's just really, really easy to find out what's going on in the LMS. To me, I talk about it as, you know, e-learning is sometimes so incredibly intangible, right? We think we're doing things, we think we're providing experiences, and then IntelliBoard becomes the tangible piece of it inside of the e-learning environment. And that's what I love about it so much. All right, friends, we're done here. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you well. Please, again, hit me up if you have any questions at all. Let us know how we can help you. And we hope you had a great mood experience, because I know we certainly did. So thanks, everybody, for attending.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great presentation. So.